Meeting for Tonganoxie USD 464 Board of Education for Monday, October 13th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item 1.4, presentation, Mr. Loomis. We're gonna amend the agenda and put about 6 presentations in front of you.
First, I don't know. I will rock it. Just remember how good this feels with every board meeting going forward. So I don't have a lot for you tonight, but the big thing that I want to get out ahead of is obviously a lot of intent right now with our TES HVAC project. And in the next month, between now and the next time that I'm up here for our board meeting in November, to keep the timeline we're attacking, there's going to be a lot of moving parts that happen between now and then. So I just kind of wanted to update you guys on this and then put some pretty substantial dates in front of you, as some of this will require some board participation in a lot of different aspects. The first thing that we've done is we issued an RFQ on September 30th, kind of like we talked about at the last meeting. Those RFQ submittals are due Wednesday the 15th, so this week. We've gotten a couple in already, and I would expect to get flooded with them on Wednesday. So that's kind of where we're at as it stands right now. We will also pretty soon here be sharing a pretty standard contract agreement with HTK to enter their design processes. And I've shared it with a couple of you, but this is a really standard AIA agreement, very similar to what we went through with the bond in the high school, obviously a little bit smaller scale. But the language in the contract is what I would call just your standard operating procedure for a project of this magnitude, utilizing a CMAR. So we'll have that available. It doesn't actually hold a dollar amount right now. Once we get through the process of design and some budgetary numbers, we'll have a much better idea. But that's coming through what sounds like a special board meeting. So right now we're sitting waiting on the RFQ. Once we get those, our short list will be announced on October 22nd, so a week from Wednesday. We'll scan the RFQs, and that's basically just our opportunity to select probably 3 to 5, again, very similar to what you guys are doing right now with the search firm, 3 to 5 construction managers that we feel comfortable based on their qualifications. And what we've done on that is, relative work. Have you worked in school districts? Have you done work that is similar or equal to what we're asking? And so in that RFQ evaluation process, that's kind of how we'll do that. So that short list will be announced on the 22nd, and then we will issue the RFP on the same day, due on October 29th. So then the following Wednesday, we would get back the construction manager's proposal, their fees for their services. We'd have all that information in front of us. Interviews on October 30th, and so this is where this timeline is probably a little more sped up than we'd normally be comfortable with. But in talking to HTK and then talking to a lot of the construction managers, we've kind of explained this process to them. They're familiar with the fact that we are a little bit on a time crunch, and again, the time crunch completely revolving around needing to order equipment in January to have that here and ready to be installed. Basically the day we get out of school. So we would then need a committee for interviews on October 30th, which would probably include Lauren and I, and then 2 to 3 of you guys to offer any insights on that. Make that selection of our CMAR, construction manager at risk, and then obviously release our notice of intent on the 31st, contract submittal, and then on the board meeting on November 10th, we would be looking at approval of the project. So a ton, like I said, the biggest thing, I guess, I think there's going to be a lot more conversation, potentially a special board meeting, and probably some just email updates and things like that. But the one thing I wanted tonight was just to really kind of lay this out for you guys and understand between now and November 10th, there is a ton of moving parts, and then November 10th is actually going to come with that probably large number, and understand, really wrapping our head around what we're getting into. But we got a lot of work to do between now and then, and so this is just kind of laying out what that looks like.
Do you anticipate, two questions, do you anticipate the 30th to be evening or middle of the day, or what are you thinking? Don't know.
That's going to be, I think it could be what
Okay.
these people that want our work, I'm sure, will show up whenever we tell them to show up. So I am probably pretty readily available, so it's kind of be what our committee can do.
And then do you anticipate during that meeting is when we would talk about phasing, or will we not know that yet?
I think so. I think that would be the time to engage, and just generally speaking, I think everybody's going to tell you what you want to hear. So I think they'll let us walk them into whatever. I think that conversation is more of a dollars and cents conversation of what we're willing to bite off financially in this fiscal year, or what would actually probably turn into the 26-27 fiscal year. So I think those questions definitely would be asked based on, hey, are you comfortable doing this? And my gut tells me they are going to tell us they'll do whatever we want them to do. But yeah, that would be that time.
And I don't know if it's in the RFP, but are we going to ask them to give us multiple pricing options, one with a big bang and one with
Yeah. So I've mentioned that to HTK, and we've talked about that. And yeah, I think that RFP will probably carry two to three separate numbers per, because that fee in the proposal, actually it'll probably carry some of that. Is this a 1-year deal or a 3-year deal? So
Okay.
honestly, if there's a way to do it in one, I think that's the way to go. But there's a lot more discussion that's got to happen. In our initial walkthroughs with a couple, everybody thinks it's certainly feasible, but it would take a little planning. And then we've mentioned in a couple other just admin meetings that obviously if this was something we were going to do as a one-shot project, we would really have to shut down the elementary for the entire summer from everything. So there's some logistical issues on our end to cover too, but obviously something I think everybody's very interested in based on wanting to correct this issue. So. Any other questions? I know that's a lot, but
It helps.
so I think you got what you need, and then just let me know what.
So I think we just got this today, or a
Yeah.
revised version of it, so I will share this, or Lauren or somebody will share it out
Okay.
with the board. And then, so this is the agreement between us and HTK. It's basically percent of the fee. So we'll likely have another special board meeting given the superintendent search stuff, and we'll approve it then. But I want everybody to have a chance to read it, so we're not going to add it tonight.
And then we'll just need, like I said, probably some committee input on some level for that October 30th date.
The 30th is a Thursday.
Yep.
I would guess by next week we'll have a better sense of the timeline on the superintendent search
Perfect.
meetings, and so we can layer that in.
Yeah. And I think that can be as in depth as we want to go, or it can be very generalized too. Maybe not to the point where it's 4 hours or something like that. I don't think that's anything like that, but certainly welcome the input of the board on that. So
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. All right, moving on to the consent agenda.
You want Forrest to say?
Oh, I'll let Forrest speak when we get to the action
Okay,
item.
very good. Okay.
Moving on to the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Any patron comments? Nope. Okay. Mr. Fokamp.
Okay, like pretty short. Two things. You can see I have the Veterans Day program on there, and the VFW and American Legion been working with me, along with the ladies that are quilting the quilts. They've selected their recipients, which is great. We're starting to get the biographies of all these people putting together. We're still over 3 weeks out, but I think we all know the drill now, so it's not as nerve-wracking trying to put this together. So we feel real good about it. I think a couple things. Jamie Falgren, who is a newly commissioned officer, is one of our speakers. We're doing a little honoring of Larry Meadows for his contribution to Tonganoxie in a variety of ways. And Jim Carlskid's going to read a poem that he wrote years ago, of course. But so that's up. And then the other thing I think is just really good is we try to involve the students as much as possible. And last year we had a 5th grader, I think, read, something he wrote, and it was really well received. So we're doing something like that again this year. So it's really good. I just wanted to make a note about the donation of the car. The car was actually donated February of last year, and they just didn't have any takers, so it sat behind Autotech for a long time. So I was really trying to get Tony to move on that car, and he found a young man that was willing to invest some of his own funds into it. For example, a battery. He had to put a battery on it. He had to do some things with the fuel injection system. He paid for all that. And so anyway, we're moving in the process of just donating the car to him. It has very little value. I think, did I put down how many miles it has? It's like 247,000 miles. So, but we did find out some things. I think it's really important moving forward. When you receive donations like that, the intent of the donations probably needs to be put before a board in advance. Like when we got it, what we were going to do. We didn't know what we were going to do with it. So we worked with KSB on it. They sent us the documentation, just so you know, of us, because we do have the title of handing that title over to the parents, so that they know that they're taking on the liability of that vehicle to get it tagged or whatever they're going to do. So it was good. It was a learning process for all of us. So
Does the person that donated the vehicle know what's happening?
yeah, Tony's. I don't know. Tony knows him, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's all I got. Any question? You have any questions about it? Just wanted to be pretty transparent about that whole process. So.
Any questions? Mrs. Phillips?
All right. I included the September 22nd count day numbers for your information, and we had sent out some information last week on how that impacts the budget. So that's just some information for your information on how we do budget and counts. Next, I put a little information in there about the Kansas Registered Teacher Apprentice Program. We've been participating in that for a couple years. We got in on the original pilot. We've had 4 participants successfully complete the program. They've earned their bachelor's degree and teaching license, so that's really exciting. We're also participating in a new pilot. The original pilot, the intent of that was to help those who did not have a bachelor's degree, number one, earn the bachelor's degree and the teaching license. But this new pilot, we have teachers who maybe have a degree already, but just not that teaching license piece. So this pilot has expanded the Grow Your Own to include those who maybe already have a bachelor's degree, but just don't have that teaching license piece. And so this program helps with that. We've got 4 currently on our staff who fit that description, and they are interested in participating in the program. And basically what it does is it just helps them financially to achieve their teaching license at a little bit faster rate than they would be able to on their own. And so that the program funds this completely. We don't have to put in any district funds for that. It just helps them achieve their teaching license. So we're excited to participate in this pilot, this expansion program. And I think it's been great for the district overall. It's been great for the state overall too. We've seen that, teaching, it's really hard to find teachers, and universities aren't cranking them out like they used to. I remember when I first started working for the district, we would have 40 applicants for every open teaching position we had. And now sometimes we have 1 applicant. So it's very difficult to find teachers, and this is one program that helps us grow our own. You know, we've been able to recognize, for example, Paris, who are doing an excellent job. They've been working in the district for several years, and this is an opportunity for them to, you know, fulfill a dream. And it helps us out in the process. So it's been a good program so far. And speaking of trying to find teachers, I've been to 3 different recruitment fairs. First of all, October 1st, the Tonganoxie High School had a career fair, and there were different businesses and organizations invited to that. But I attended on the district's behalf, and you know, I talked with students about not only teaching, but also what are some other careers that you can have in school districts. It doesn't have to be teaching. It could be maybe you want to be a director of facilities when Mitch is ready to hang it up. You know, what are the things that you need to do to get there? And that starts with staying in school, getting your diploma, you know. And so I talked with several students about different programs that we have going and scholarship opportunities. So that was really good and nice to see our students. You could really tell a difference between the freshmen who came through the career fair versus the seniors at the end. So it was fun to watch the growth in the students. Then on October 8th, Mr. Witt and I attended the University of Kansas Education Career Fair. That was outstanding. We saw so many high quality future teachers, got a lot of resumes, have some good leads on some teachers. I was encouraged this year. Last year when we attended this same education career fair, we had 0 math applicants, and this year there were several. So that is something exciting to see, that you have more math applicants out there. There were several science and STEM applicants. And then you have the usual elementary, social studies, PE, lots of music, art, but it was really encouraging to see the more math and science focused future teachers there. The next day, when you guys were having your meeting here with the search firms, I was at Kansas State University. They had a career fair. Theirs is very different in how they structure it. It's an all-day event where future teachers come in and participate in professional development all day, and then they have an hour to go through and stop and visit with different school districts, and we were located in 3 different rooms. And then afterwards, we got to schedule interviews with students. That career fair was a little bit more difficult because it's a little further away, and we're not as apt to get student teachers, you know, because they're living in Manhattan. They don't want to drive to Tonganoxie every day, which, you know, that happens. But I tried to reach out to those who thought maybe they were going to move back in this direction and establish a relationship with them, and so that we can, you know, get them when they move back this direction. Also made some good connections with some organizations, different folks that involved with, not only with K-State, but with other organizations involved with education. So that was good. We have November 5th coming up, the Emporia State Career Fair, and it's always a really good one. So I anticipate finding some good folks there. I included also, I'm involved in the Thrive cohort with Kansas Association of School Boards. It's the HR group, and they do not get together every year. This is the second group, second cohort. The original one was 2 years ago. So I've included a picture of our group. We have a really diverse group. They come from very small districts to very large districts. And it's just a really good group. The session 1 talked about legal updates, recruiting strategies, coaching and mentoring, professional growth, effective employee evaluation and discipline. So they were really good topics. Session 2 will take place in December, and we will be in Goddard for that one. And finally, the Skyward SMS to cumulative migration. We met our deadline for successfully cleaning up the data in the current Skyward system. That was very intense. We had a lot of attention to detail, trying to get some things cleaned up in both the student and business modules. What happens next is we'll be making the cumulative training environment available to the staff who are in the leadership roles first, once those folks are trained, then we will expand to the rest of the staff as the school year goes on. And so it's a very busy time, and we're making it work.
A couple of things. Tanya she talked about the FTE count, and she sent something about a week ago. So just kind of so everybody's thinking about it, based on the 28.2 students down, that's almost $160,000 impact to the state base aid for next year. It just, if you remember when we did teacher raises, we put about an extra $150K into that bucket that we needed to go move some dollars around somewhere else, and certainly there's going to be some costs associated with superintendent recruiting and search firm and the like. So Lauren and I have been working on trying to figure out where we do tighten the belt, but we're probably staring down the barrel of minimally 300,000, probably closer to 350 to 400 that we're going to have to go find from other places. So something Lauren and I have been working on, and we'll certainly report out on it as soon as we have more details. The other thing, Tanya, when should we expect the next readout on academic stuff from Brandy? A couple board members asked
I
me that.
believe February was the next date that we had plotted out. We typically have the data meeting in February where we really have a special meeting and hone in on the specific data. It's basically the June meeting in February, and we show where we are compared to the prior year and when we started with FastBridge, and state assessment scores are now in, so we'll have that piece of it as well.
Okay, I think we can take it offline, but I would like to at least talk with Callista again about the kindergarten, first grade numbers that we talked about in June. So.
Okay. And you want to do that before February?
I think so.
Okay. We can get a report to you.
Okay. Questions? All right, moving into the action items. Action item 5.1, approval of additional warrant list. I would move that we approve action item 5.1 as presented. Is there a second?
I second it.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Forrest, can you give us a little color on 5.2?
I'm just asking for my Cisco Meraki licensing to be approved to renew. So in our district, we have over 300 pieces of equipment that make up our network, from switches and closets. It's all the stuff you don't see that runs in the background, or it's on a ceiling. We've got a few access points in here, but it's access points, switches, routers, firewall. I've got sensors in my closets. They're all Cisco Meraki, and they all require a license to run. We are up for renewal this year. I did budget for it. There was one more thing I was going to say about it. It provides us with, we have a cloud-based management system of all of our networking equipment. Kind of renews that. It renews our 24/7 support of our networking equipment. Meraki is great. I've had years when I've had a switch go out, and they have a brand new one to me the next morning for me to just swap out. So they've been great about that. And it also covers the warranty and the replacement of all of our devices too. So it keeps our network going. I will say our networking, Cisco is restructuring next year how you will pay licensing. So it should go down, and actually we'll have E-rate funding is starting a new cycle this year. So I'll be able to apply for E-rate funding this winter. That will reduce our future renewals by like 70%. So do you guys have any questions for me about it? I had 4 vendors that put in on it, and CDWG was actually the least amount. They came in with a pretty good bid.
Is that a yearly subscription?
It is this year, just because the way it's always happened in the past when we've done a bond project or something like that, we buy switches, access points, and we also buy the licensing that goes along with it. Licensing for our model goes into kind of a big pool and covers all the devices in the district. And we have gotten to the point where we haven't purchased new switches for a while, so our renewal is coming up this year in 2 months. So next year I will be able to renew for probably a 5-year deal for considerably cheaper than what we will pay per year. But this year I have to buy a year to keep us going.
Okay. Questions? All right, I would move that we approve action item 5.2 as presented, not to exceed $39,362.54. Is there a second?
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. All right, the big one. Action item 5.3, approval of superintendent search firm. So, I guess firstly, I appreciate everyone's willingness to attend the, I guess, at least 3 special board meetings we've had in the last few weeks to keep this moving. I am looking forward to having a search firm help us continue to keep it moving, given that they do it all the time. I think given the importance of this, I think we'll just kind of do a round robin and let everybody give some perspective. And Ryan, I'm going to pick on you first.
All right. Well, I was appreciative of all 3 firms coming. It was good to hear their different perspectives. Had a chance to call on references for all of them. They were all positive. No surprise there.
Shocking.
But I think 2 of the ones that probably stood out to me the most were KSB and Grunmeyer, for kind of different reasons. KSB has obviously performed a lot of searches in Kansas. I think that their point of contact experience really stood out to me. I like that they also gave us, I think, some honest feedback related to our position. One concern I had was maybe they were going to be more Kansas focused, but I asked some additional questions, and out of the 29 searches they did last year, 57 finalists, 14 were out of state, and of those 4 were hired out of the 29. So that I guess let me know that they, they're looking in state as well as out of state. Grunmeyer, I really like their overall process. I felt like their slides and their profiling that they do at the beginning, along with their data-driven approach, those were some of the aspects I really liked. The reference I spoke with really raved about Trent, but some of the experience and examples that they talked about during the presentation were related to more smaller districts, and so that was a potential concern about understanding, our district given our size, and so those were my thoughts on the firms.
Karen?
My top 2 would actually be the same for a lot of the same reasons. When it comes to Grunmeyer, I really liked the examples and the information that they were able to provide regarding how they selected, how they did their search and how they selected, the criteria and stuff. I thought that was really interesting and it would suit our district well. When it comes to KSB, I was also, I don't know if equally, I think if I had to rank 1 and 2, I would probably prefer Grunmeyer over KSB, but I wouldn't be disappointed with either of those. I was very happy to see with KSB that their process now is different than what we experienced prior.
Evan, gonna go over to the other side and come this way.
So, I mean, I agree that I think all 3 put together pretty strong proposals and pretty robust processes. One thing that stood out for me with Ray was that I felt like their community engagement was really robust. But I also agree that I appreciated that Grundemeyer put like outcomes, like we could kind of see, kind of their success rate. And I appreciated their, I think, data-driven approach was how Ryan said it, which I appreciated also. I think my concern with them was like the survey seemed to be their community engagement approach. So I think we maybe want to ask them if we went that way about a little more some like actual engagement with the community around that. KSB I also thought was good. I think it probably leaned towards a firm with a wider reach and a little more kind of. Whereas KSB didn't talk as much about their active and recruiting process, but also know that they have really deep networks around the state. So those are my thoughts.
Okay. Linda?
Oh, I liked KASB. It was kind of strange because when I first looked at all of the 7 that we had, it was lower on my list. But after our interviews the other day, I put it at the very top. We worked with them before. They know Tonganoxie. They know pretty much how we work. And they also had a high percentage of, I believe they said that almost 90% or something of the superintendents that have been hired in the last few years in Kansas, they worked with and they helped hire those. Grundemeyer was very organized, and I liked that they were data driven. They also were really strong on research of references, things. But I think my number one would be KASB. Number 2 would be Grundemeyer.
Some things that I noticed with all 3 groups, they all did stakeholder surveys, which I think is important, and interviews. They also all offered after hire support. They all had a team approach, kind of a partnership with us. They all tiered the candidates for us, and they all provided legal support and other support during the interview process. But when I looked at probably my top 2 would be Grundemeyer and KSB. And Grundemeyer, what I really liked about them was the pre-negotiation questionnaire form that they sent to kind of make sure that when you're down to your finalists, that's actually, they also believe that that's a good location for them. But KSB, I thought that, one of the things that Grundemeyer said that I think it was like 6%, one of their slides said 6% of their hires are out of state, which kind of tells me that we're probably going to be most successful finding someone within our state or our region. And KSB kind of said that too, that within our region, that's where we're probably going to find somebody successful. So then I looked at the amount of money that we would pay for Grundemeyer compared to KSB, and I would strongly have to go with KSB because I think that we need to really look at that. I don't think that the extra money spent, which was fairly considerable, would give us that much more in return.
One more thing I wanted to add, like KASB said, Grundemeyer probably would have a larger search throughout the country, but like usually the people who are going to come from somewhere else are going to have a connection here anyway. So KASB probably would be have more information about those kind of people.
Agreed. Mr. Grattan?
So I appreciate all of their presentations, all the input. They all seemed very similar. The thing that struck out to me was it's our plan. We're in the driver's seat. So from a budget standpoint, I believe KSB would be my front runner based on presentation and the folks that give the presentation. If they are truly going to be our liaisons, I can stand behind KSB. It was very different. Their approach has been different. It seems like the all of them. Community engagement committees was important, surveys, staff, but primarily from a budget standpoint and the people that led the meeting. If they are truly our people, I can get behind KSB and support them.
Okay. Well, going last, run out of fresh ideas, but I'll kind of walk through my thoughts here. You know, I've been in consulting my entire career, and I think that this is more about hiring the person than the firm. And I was really impressed with KSB. Dr. Hubbard was the superintendent for Shawnee Mission Schools. She will be our person. I did call her and confirm this isn't, you know, you hand us off to a more junior person. She would be our person. I think she's a hard charger. I think she understands some big school thinking, but also, you know, has been at much smaller schools and understands how to go tailor something that's going to fit Tonganoxie. You know, I think I would actually, they were the least expensive option. You know, by about half, but given the scale of this, you know, we're talking about 7,000 or 8,000 versus 13,000 or 14,000. So I actually would take cost kind of off the table from my perspective. I mean, it's double, but given the importance of this decision, you know, it's not 7,000 or 8,000 versus, you know, 200,000. So that really didn't weigh into my mind, though. KSB is the cheapest. I did like Grunmeyer's process the best. I think, again, it's about who you're hiring, and I got a better feel from the folks that came from KSB. Most of Grunmeyer's examples were pretty small schools. In Grunmeyer's, and I don't remember whether it was Linda or Stephanie said it, but on one of their slides they said that only 6% of their searches they place someone out of state. So if we've got a 94% chance of hiring someone in state anyway, I think that KSB probably has the best pulse of what the in-state candidate pool looks like. I actually think the firm is probably the lesser of my concerns at the moment. You know, all the firms talked about a closed versus open search, and there's some hybrids in the middle and pros and cons both ways. I actually think some of those decisions may end up being more critical than the firm, but my preference would also be KSB. So, sounds like we've got a little, I don't think disagreement's the right word, some different directions, but I don't know that anyone had anything bad to say about certainly either Grunmeyer or KSB. But any other comments, feedback, suggestions?
Another thing I noticed that they said, all of them kind of said that January timeframe is a better timeframe to kind of do that process.
Yeah, I think that, you know, from my perspective, that will be our first meeting with whatever firm to nail that down. You know, I think Mr. Feldkamp did us great service to give us some notice, and I think that I don't want to rush anything. I think we ought to do an organic type process, but at the same time, I would hate to lose a really good candidate. So I think we need to spend some time thinking through their timelines, but I think we're certainly in the driver's seat at this point. So I'd entertain a motion to select the superintendent search firm.
I would make a motion to accept KSB as our search firm.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried unanimously. All right, so I will reach out to KSB tomorrow and let them know that they've been selected, and we can start the process of contracting. I think they will probably want to meet with us sooner than later to nail down next steps. I hope they do. That would be my intention, and I will be back in touch. Super. All right. don't believe we have any need for executive session tonight, Mr. Focamp?
Nope.
All right, general board discussion, so, I'll reach out to KSB. My assessment is we'll need a special meeting. I believe that will probably largely be an executive session, but I'll validate that with our folks and make sure that is the case, but we'll work on that. Likely during that special meeting, we'll look at the HTK contract that Mitch has presented. We'll get that out to everyone. And then based on the timing for that special meeting, we need to figure out who can be available for a board committee for the TES HVAC on the 30th. Any other discussion?
Do we need to make sure, does Mitch need to talk to him about a best time? Would that help everybody make a decision on the 30th?
Probably would. Mitch and I can talk.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay. Meeting adjourned.